The salvage bay smelled like burnt metal and old fear. Hana pulled her gloves tighter over her hands, making sure no one could see the small scales that ran along her wrists. The scales were dark red like dried blood, and they marked her as something the world hated. She was 23 years old and had been hiding what she was for most of her life. Half human, half Drather. A mistake. An abomination. That was what people called her kind when they bothered to use words instead of fists. The derelict ship floated in front of her like a dead whale in space. It was old. Maybe 20 years old from the time when humans and Drather had tried to kill each other. The war had ended with a treaty, but the hate never stopped. Hana knew that better than anyone. She pushed off from her salvage shuttle and drifted toward the wreck. Her partner for today was a man named Dae-hyun, a human with cold eyes and a scanner in his hand. He worked for colonial security, which meant he had authority to make her life difficult if he wanted to. "Stay close," Dae-hyun said through the comm. "This sector isn't safe. Pirates sometimes use these wrecks as traps." Hana said nothing. She had learned that speaking too much made people notice her voice, which sometimes carried a slight growl she could not hide. Instead, she nodded and followed him into the ship's broken hull. Inside, everything was dark except for their helmet lights. The walls were covered in carbon scoring from weapons fire. Bodies had been cleared out long ago, but Hana could still feel the violence that had happened here. Her father's people and her mother's people, killing each other while she was just a child. Her mother, Myung, had been a scientist who studied alien life. Her father, Corvin, had been a Drather diplomat trying to make peace. They had fallen in love during the treaty talks. They had created her, and the world had punished all three of them for it. Myung was dead now, killed by humans who thought she was a traitor. Corvin was exiled somewhere in Drather space. And Hana was here, crawling through shipwrecks for spare parts that barely paid for food. "Over here," Dae-hyun called. He was standing near what looked like the command center. "This ship has Drather markings. The salvage company didn't mention that." Hana moved closer. Her heart beat faster. Drather technology was valuable, but it was also illegal for humans to own most of it. If Dae-hyun reported this, the whole salvage operation would be shut down and she would lose her job. But then she saw something that made her forget about jobs and laws. There was a small container built into the wall, hidden behind a collapsed panel. The container had a lock that required biorecognition. Not human biorecognition, Drather. "What did you find?" Dae-hyun asked, moving toward her. Hana acted on instinct. She pressed her hand against the lock and something inside her woke up. Heat spread through her palm where the scales were hidden under her glove. The container recognized something in her blood, something that was not fully human. The lock opened. Inside was a data crystal, smaller than her thumb, glowing with a soft blue light. Hana grabbed it and shoved it into her suit's inner pocket before Dae-hyun could see clearly. "Nothing," she said. "Just an empty compartment." Dae-hyun stared at her for a long moment. His eyes were suspicious. "Let me see your scanner readings." Before Hana could respond, alarms blared through their helmet comms. Her shuttle's AI was screaming warnings. 2 ships had just appeared on sensors. 1 human military vessel. 1 Drather hunting pack. "What the hell?" Dae-hyun pulled out his weapon. "Why are both sides here?" This wreck shouldn't matter to anyone, but Hana understood. They were not here for the wreck. They were here for what was inside it, for the data crystal now burning like a hot coal in her pocket. "We need to leave," she said. "Now." "I'm calling for backup." Dae-hyun started, but Hana was already moving. She kicked off the wall and flew back toward the exit. Behind her, she heard Dae-hyun cursing and following. They reached their shuttle just as the first weapons fire lit up space around them. The human military ship was trying to disable the Drather vessel. The Drather were firing back, and both were moving toward the derelict where Hana and Dae-hyun had just been. Hana threw herself into the pilot seat. Her hands moved over the controls faster than human reflexes should allow. That was another thing her father's blood gave her. Speed. Strength. The ability to survive in places that would kill normal humans. "Strap in," she told Dae-hyun, and punched the engines to maximum. The shuttle screamed away from the battle. Weapons fire chased them. A human missile locked onto their tail. Hana twisted the shuttle in a spiral that would have knocked out most pilots, but her body could handle the G-forces. Barely. The missile exploded close enough to shake the shuttle, but not close enough to destroy it. Hana aimed for the nearest asteroid field and dove into it. Rocks the size of buildings flew past them. One wrong move would splatter them across a mountain of frozen stone. Behind them, the military ship tried to follow but had to pull back. They were too big, too slow. The Drether were faster, but even they could not match Hana's desperate flying through the maze of asteroids. After 10 minutes that felt like 10 hours, they broke free on the other side of the field. Hana did not slow down. She pushed the shuttle until the engines were screaming and the temperature warnings were flashing red. "Where are you going?" Daehyun demanded. "We need to return to the colony. I need to report this." "You report this and we are both dead," Hana said. Her voice came out harsh and she did not care anymore if he heard the growl in it. "Did you see how fast they arrived? Someone knew what was on that ship. Someone powerful on both sides. What did you take?" Daehyun pointed his weapon at her head. "Show me what you stole." Hana looked at him. Really looked at him. She could see the fear in his eyes but also the anger. He was a soldier who had fought in the last years of the war. He had probably killed Drether. He probably wanted to kill her too. "If I show you," she said slowly, "you have to decide. Do you trust your government? Because if they wanted this badly enough to send a military ship, they will kill us to get it back. Both of us." Daehyun's hand shook slightly, but he did not lower the weapon. "Show me." Hana pulled out the data crystal. It was still glowing, pulsing like a tiny heart. Even Daehyun could tell it was important. Maybe the most important thing either of them had ever seen. "I am taking this somewhere safe," Hana said. "You can shoot me and take it yourself. Or you can let me go and report that I overpowered you. Your choice." For a long moment, neither of them moved. The shuttle flew through empty space, carrying two people who should have been enemies, and one secret that both their governments would kill to possess. Finally, Daehyun lowered his weapon. "If this gets me killed," he said, "I am going to haunt you." Hana almost smiled. Almost. "Get in line." She changed course, heading away from the colonies, away from Drether space, toward the lawless frontier where people did not ask questions about what you were, only about what you could pay. In her pocket, the data crystal pulsed with secrets. Secrets about what she was, secrets about why she existed, and secrets about something coming that would make the human Drether war look like a small argument between children. But Hana did not know any of that yet. All she knew was that for the first time in her life, someone had chosen not to kill her when they had the chance. It was not much, but it was something. The frontier station called Rust Haven looked like someone had welded together 100 different ships and forgot to make them pretty. Hana liked it because nobody cared what you were here, only what you paid. She had been hiding here for 2 weeks, and the data crystal was burning a hole in her conscience. Daehyun had left 3 days after they arrived. He said he needed to think. Hana thought he needed to decide if he was going to report her or not. Either way, she could not wait any longer. She needed to know what was on the crystal. That was when she met Ji-won. Ji-won was a smuggler with sharp eyes and a sharper ship. They found Hana in a dirty bar, sat down without asking, and slid a data pad across the table. "You are the half-breed everyone is looking for," Ji-won said. Not a question. A statement. Hana's hand went to her knife. "I do not know what you are talking about." "Yes, you do. Colonial Security has your face on every wanted feed. The Drether have put a blood price on your head. Must be something important you took." Ji-won smiled, but it did not reach their eyes. "I can help you. For a price." "Why would you help me?" "Because I hate both governments equally," Ji-won said. "They took everything from me. My family died in the war. Human missiles killed my parents. Drether fire killed my brother. So when I see both sides wanting the same person dead, I figure that person must be doing something right." Hana studied Ji-won's face. She had learned to read people, to see when they were lying. Ji-won was telling the truth, or at least believed they were. "I need to decrypt something," Hana said slowly. "Something that requires high-level tech." "I know a guy," Ji-won said. "Costs, though, how much?" "All the credits you have, plus you owe me a favor." "Big one." Hana did not have a choice. She nodded. 3 hours later, they were in a hidden tech lab run by a nervous man named Hyunwoo. He was old, maybe 60, with shaking hands and the look of someone who had seen too much. "Where did you get this?" Hyunwoo whispered when he saw the crystal. His face went pale. "This is from Project Crimson Genesis." "What is that?" Hana asked. Hyunwoo looked at her like she was a ghost. "You do not know? You do not know what you are." "I know I am half human, half Drether. I know everyone hates me. That is all I know." Yunwoo sat down hard in his chair. Project Crimson Genesis was a joint program. 25 years ago, before the war, humans and Draether were trying to work together. Some scientists thought if we could create hybrids, people who were both species, we could bridge the gap between our peoples. Hana felt cold. You are saying I was made? Like a weapon. Like a hope, Yunwoo corrected. Your parents were part of the project. Myung and Korvan. I knew them. I worked with them. He wiped his eyes. Then extremists from both sides found out. They sabotaged the project, started the war, killed most of the scientists. I have been hiding ever since. Jiwon looked between them. So this crystal, what is on it? Hyunwoo plugged the crystal into his system. Data flooded across multiple screens. Hana could not read most of it, but Hyunwoo could. His face kept getting paler and paler. Oh no, he whispered. Oh no. What? Hana grabbed his shoulder. What is it? The Void Swarm. They are coming back. For the next hour, Hyunwoo explained. Centuries ago, both humans and Draether had encountered something from beyond their galaxy, a species that was not alive in any normal sense. They were more like a virus that ate everything biological and turned it into more of themselves. Humans called them the Void Swarm. The Draether had a name that translated to the hunger that walks. Both species had barely survived their first encounters. Both had hoped the swarm would never return. The crystal contained proof that the swarm was coming back. Long-range sensors had detected them at the edge of the galaxy. They would arrive in less than 6 months. This is why both governments want this, Jiwon said. They do not want people to panic. It is worse than that, Hyunwoo said. He pulled up more files. According to this data, neither species can stop them alone. The swarm adapts. When humans shoot them with bullets, they adapt to bullets. When Draether use plasma, they adapt to plasma. But if you alternate, keep changing your attacks, they cannot adapt fast enough. So humans and Draether need to work together, Hana said. Yes, but there is more. Hyunwoo looked at her with something like pity. The project created you for a reason. There is a weapon, hidden at the place where humans and Draether first made contact. It is called the Eternal Flame. The Draether built it long ago, the first time they fought the swarm. But the weapon requires a very specific operator, someone who can interface with both Draether biotechnology and human neural systems at the same time. Hana understood before he said it. Someone like me. You are not the only hybrid they made, Hyunwoo said quietly. There were 12 others. The extremists killed them all. You survived only because your mother took you and ran. She died protecting you. Hana felt something break inside her chest. All her life she thought she was a mistake, an accident. Now she learned she was made for a purpose, made to be a key for a weapon. Did her parents really love her, or was she just a tool they created? Jiwon touched her shoulder gently. Hey, listen to me. I do not care why you were made. What matters is what you choose to do now. You are not a weapon, you are a person. A person both sides want dead, Hana said bitterly. Then we change their minds, Jiwon said. We show them the data. We make them see the truth. They will not believe me. I am an abomination, remember? They will believe the proof, Hyunwoo said. He started copying files. I have kept records. I have evidence. And I have something else. Your father, Korvan, is alive. He has been trying to warn the Draether Council about the swarm for years. They would not listen because he is exiled. But if you and he work together with this proof, maybe they will have to listen. Hana felt dizzy. Her father was alive. After all these years of thinking she was alone, there was family out there. Someone who might understand what she was going through. Where is he? She asked. I can get you a location, Hyunwoo said. But Hana, you need to understand something. Even if you convince them, even if they listen, using the Eternal Flame is dangerous. It was designed for pure Draether. A hybrid using it might survive, or it might burn you from the inside out. So my choices are use the weapon and maybe die, or do nothing and definitely die with everyone else. Yes, Hyunwoo said simply. Jiwon stood up. Then we better get moving. Because if both governments are hunting her, they will find this place eventually. As if summoning them, alarms started blaring. Hyunwoo's screen showed armed people in the hallway outside. Not military. Not official. These were bounty hunters. Someone had sold Hana's location. Back door, Hyunwoo gasped. He shoved a data chip into Hana's hand. Everything is on this, go find your father. Stop the swarm, and Hana, your parents did love you. I know they did. I saw it. Hana wanted to ask more, but explosions rocked the lab. Jiwon grabbed her arm and pulled her toward a hidden exit. Behind them, she heard weapons fire and Hyunwoo's voice raised in defiance. They ran through maintenance tunnels, Jiwon leading the way with practiced ease. Behind them, the sounds of pursuit grew louder. Hana felt her scales pushing through her skin, her body preparing for a fight. She had hidden what she was for so long. Maybe it was time to stop hiding. They burst out onto a landing pad where Jiwon's ship waited. It was small, fast, and heavily modified. They scrambled aboard as weapons fire chased them. Jiwon threw the ship into the air without waiting for clearance. As Rust Haven fell away beneath them, Hana looked at the data chip in her hand. Everything she was meant to be, was on this tiny piece of tech. And somewhere out in space, an unstoppable enemy was coming to kill everyone. Where to? Jiwon asked. Hana thought about her father, about the weapon, about the impossible choice ahead. But first they needed allies. They needed to make people believe. Find Daehyun, she said. The human captain. If anyone in colonial security might listen, it is him. He already had one chance to kill me and did not take it. You trust him? Jiwon asked skeptically. No, Hana admitted. But I do not have any better options. Below them, Rust Haven exploded. Someone had decided to destroy the whole station, rather than let Hana escape. Dozens of innocent people died in an instant. Hana closed her eyes. The war between humans and Draethir had killed thousands. The Void Swarm would kill billions, and she was supposed to stop it. She did not feel like a weapon. She did not feel like hope. She felt like a scared woman who was in way over her head. But Jiwon was right about one thing. What mattered was not why she was made, but what she chose to do. And she chose to fight. The neutral trade station was called Haven's Rest, and it was the only place in known space where humans and Draethir could meet without immediately trying to kill each other. It was protected by a dozen different treaties, and the biggest defensive weapons array money could buy. Break the peace here and you made enemies of everyone. Hana hated it already. She stood in the shadows of a cargo bay, watching Jiwon's ship get refueled. Her hood was pulled low, covering her face and the scales that had spread further up her neck over the past weeks. Stress made her transformation worse. She was looking less human every day. Are you sure about this? Jiwon asked. They were loading supplies, preparing for what might be their last mission. Walking into a place full of people who want you dead seems like a bad plan. All plans are bad plans now, Hana said. She touched the data chip in her pocket. But Daehyun got us clearance to attend the treaty negotiations. If we are going to convince anyone, this is our only chance. Daehyun had been surprisingly helpful after Hana contacted him. He said he had spent the weeks thinking about what he saw on that derelict ship, about how fast both sides had responded. He believed something bigger was happening. When Hana sent him proof of the Void Swarm, he did not dismiss it. Instead, he used his military connections to get them into Haven's Rest during the diplomatic meetings. That did not mean Hana trusted him completely, but she was running out of options. The conference center was in the heart of the station, a massive room designed to make both species feel equally uncomfortable. Human chairs and Draethir perches mixed together. The temperature was kept at a compromise that left humans too warm and Draethir too cold. When Hana entered, the room went silent. On one side sat Admiral Seo-hyun, the human delegation leader. She was famous for her tactical brilliance during the war. On the other side was Elder Soren, head of the Draethir Council. He was ancient even by Draethir standards, his scales the color of storm clouds. And there, standing with the Draethir warriors, was Taeyong. He was unusual for his people, a Draethir who had adopted a human name after saving human civilians during a colony disaster. He was known as a warrior who cared about honor more than politics. Every eye turned to Hana. Humans reached for weapons. Draethir warriors tensed, ready to strike. Only Daehyun, standing near Admiral Seo-hyun, looked unsurprised. What is the meaning of this? Elder Soren's voice was like grinding stone. A hybrid. Here? Who dares break sanctuary protocol? I do, Daehyun said, stepping forward. Under military emergency provisions, this woman has information that affects both our species' survival. She is an abomination, one of the Draethir hissed. Her existence insults our bloodline. She is a traitor to humanity, a human diplomat added. The spawn of collaboration with the enemy. Hana pulled back her hood. Let them see her scales, her golden eyes, everything they hated. I am both of your species, and neither. And I am trying to save all of you from something that will not care about your bloodlines or your politics. She pulled out the data chip and threw it on the table between the delegations. That contains proof of an extragalactic threat called the Void Swarm. They destroyed both your peoples centuries ago. They are coming back. They will be here in 4 months. And if you keep fighting each other instead of them, everyone dies. Admiral Seo Hyun picked up the chip, her face neutral. Assuming this is real, why should we believe anything from you? Because I was there when humans and Draether both tried to kill me to get that data, Hana said. Because both your governments know about this and are keeping it secret. Because you are so busy hating each other that you cannot see the real enemy. Elder Soren made a dismissive gesture. Even if such a threat exists, we do not need human help to face it. The Draether stood against the hunger long before your species left your homeworld. And you barely survived, Hana shot back. The data shows that. It also shows the only way to fight them is together. They adapt to whatever you use against them. Bullets, plasma, everything. The only defense is to keep changing tactics. Human technology and Draether bioweapons working together. Lies, someone shouted. But others looked uncertain. That was when the alarms started. Red lights flooded the room. An automated voice announced hull breaches on the station's outer ring. Something had attacked Haven's Rest. Something that did not care about treaties or neutral ground. The view screens activated, showing the outside of the station. What Hana saw made her blood freeze. They looked like massive insects, but wrong. Their bodies kept shifting, changing shape. Where weapons fire hit them, they absorbed the damage and reformed. They were not ships. They were living things, flying through space without protection. The Void Swarm had arrived early. Impossible, Admiral Seohun breathed. Our long-range sensors would have detected them months out. They adapted, Hana said. They are always adapting. That is what makes them unstoppable. The station's defensive weapons opened fire, missiles, railguns, plasma cannons, everything. For a few seconds, the swarm entities died. Then they stopped dying. They shifted, changed, and the same weapons that killed them before now barely scratched them. Everyone to the escape shuttles, Elder Soren commanded. But before anyone could move, the wall exploded. Swarm entities poured through the breach. They were even more horrible up close. Bodies that seemed to be made of shadows and teeth, constantly shifting forms. One moment they looked like insects, the next like something that hurt to look at. The room erupted into chaos. Security forces from both sides opened fire. The swarm adapted within seconds. Bullets passed through them. Energy weapons were absorbed. They reached the first human soldier and wrapped around him. His scream lasted 3 seconds before he became something else, something that turned and attacked his own people. Hana did not think. Her body reacted. The scales on her arms spread further, hardening into armor. She felt heat building in her chest, the Draether part of her activating. She had never used her full abilities before, always too afraid of what she might become. She could not afford fear anymore. She threw herself at the nearest swarm entity, her fists hitting with Draether strength. The creature tried to absorb her like it did the soldier, but her hybrid biology confused it. She was both human and Draether. It could not adapt to both at once. Alternate your fire, she shouted. Humans shoot, then Draether, then humans again. Do not give them time to adapt to one type. Taeyong, the Draether warrior, understood immediately. He barked orders in his own language. His warriors switched to using physical attacks instead of plasma. The humans coordinated with them, creating a pattern of attacks that kept changing. It worked. The swarm entities slowed, unable to adapt fast enough. But more kept coming through the breach. The station was dying around them. Hana found herself fighting back-to-back with Daehyun. He fired his weapon in controlled bursts, while she used her claws and strength. A swarm entity lunged at him from above. She grabbed it and threw it into the wall with enough force to splatter it. Thanks, Daehyun gasped. Do not thank me yet. We need to get everyone out. Admiral Seo Hyun was coordinating the evacuation, but several civilians were cut off by swarm entities. Hana saw them cornered, saw the creatures closing in. Among the civilians were both human children and young Drathir. She ran. Her body moved faster than human possible, strength flooding her limbs. She reached the group just as the swarm attacked. Her scales were fully extended now, covering most of her body. She stood between the children and death, taking hits that would have killed anyone else. The pain was incredible. The swarm entities tore at her, tried to absorb her, but her hybrid biology kept rejecting them. She fought like something wild, like something neither human nor Drathir, but somehow more than both. Taeyong appeared beside her, his own strength matching hers. Together they held the line until Drathir warriors could evacuate the civilians. The last one through was a human girl, maybe 8 years old. She looked at Hana with wide eyes. "You saved us," the girl whispered. Hana did not have time to respond. The station was breaking apart. Taeyong grabbed her arm. "Time to leave, hybrid." They ran for the shuttle bays. Behind them, Haven's Rest was being consumed. The swarm was not just killing people. It was taking over the entire station, turning it into something alien and horrible. The last shuttle was waiting. Admiral Seo Hyun and Elder Soren were already aboard, along with the surviving delegates from both sides. Daehyun stood at the ramp, refusing to leave until everyone else was on. "Move," he shouted at Hana and Taeyong. They dove into the shuttle as the bay doors began to fail. The shuttle launched, escaping just before the entire section collapsed. Through the viewport, Hana watched Haven's Rest die. Hundreds of people had been on that station. Now it was a tomb. Inside the shuttle, everyone was silent. Humans and Drathir sat together, too shocked to remember their hate. They had seen the enemy now. They understood what was coming. Admiral Seo Hyun looked at Hana. The Admiral's face was pale but determined. "The data you provided. Where is this weapon you mentioned? This eternal flame?" "The first contact site," Hana said. "Where your peoples first met before the war. It is in the Shattered Gate Zone." "That area is quarantined," Elder Soren said. His ancient eyes studied Hana. "You fought well today, hybrid. For both human and Drathir, you stood against the hunger, perhaps." He paused, and Hana could see the internal struggle. "Perhaps we judged you too quickly." It was not an apology. But from a Drathir elder it was something. Taeyong spoke up, his voice carrying authority. "She fights with honor. That is enough for me. If she can use this weapon to stop the swarm, she should have her chance." Daehyun nodded. "Agreed, we need every advantage. Our fleet cannot stand against this alone." Admiral Seo Hyun made a decision. "Joint operation. We send ships from both species to the Shattered Gate. The hybrid leads a strike team to activate the weapon." "Agreed?" Elder Soren was quiet for a long moment. Then slowly he nodded. "Agreed. But we watch her closely. If she betrays either side, she dies." "Fair enough," Hana said. She was too tired to care about threats. She had seen the swarm now. She understood what they were facing. Death by firing squad seemed almost pleasant compared to what the swarm did. As the shuttle flew toward the safety of the human fleet, Hana looked at her hands. They were still covered in scales, still stained with the black blood of swarm entities. She was becoming less human every day. But maybe that was what the galaxy needed. Not human, not Drathir, but something that could bridge the gap between them. Or maybe she was just a weapon that would break when used. Either way, she would find out soon enough. The joint fleet looked wrong. 5 human warships flying in formation with 3 Drathir biocruisers was something nobody thought they would ever see. The ships maintained careful distance from each other, like animals that might attack at any moment. Hana stood in the briefing room of the human flagship, surrounded by people who still looked at her with suspicion. The meeting included both human officers and Drathir warriors, all trying to work together despite centuries of hate. Admiral Seo Hyun brought up a hologram of the Shattered Gate. It was a graveyard of ships from the first human-Drathir war, hundreds of vessels locked in their final battle, frozen in space like a monument to stupidity. "Intelligence says the eternal flame is somewhere in this debris field," Seo Hyun explained, "but the area is filled with hazards. Radiation, unstable reactors, and automated defense systems that shoot anything that moves. The defenses were set by my ancestors," Elder Soren added. He was attending the meeting via hologram from his own ship. "They will attack both our peoples. Only one with both bloodlines might pass safely." "Might?" Daehyun asked. That is not very reassuring. Nothing about this mission is reassuring, Captain, Seo-hyun said. She looked at Hana. You will lead a small strike team. We cannot send a large force without attracting the swarm's attention. They are already gathering at the edge of the system. Hana nodded. She had been expecting this. Who is on the team? Myself, Daehyun said immediately. Human military representative. And I will accompany you, Taeyong announced. The Draether warrior had volunteered before the meeting even started. If the hybrid can show courage, so can I. I am going too, Jawan said from the back of the room. Someone needs to pilot the shuttle, and nobody knows evasive flying better than me. Seo-hyun added 2 more names. Youngmi, our best combat medic, and Kale, a Draether scout with experience in hostile environments. Youngmi was a human woman in her 30s with hard eyes and steady hands. She had lost her brother in the war, killed by Draether plasma fire. When she looked at Taeyong and Kale, her expression was cold. Kale was young for a Draether, barely past their maturity. They were curious about everything, especially humans. When introduced to the team, Kale actually tried to shake hands like a human, which made Youngmi even more uncomfortable. We leave in 2 hours, Seo-hyun said. The swarm is advancing faster than predicted. We have maybe 3 days before they reach inhabited systems. This is our only chance. The next 2 hours were spent preparing. Hana checked her equipment, though she knew her real weapons were the scales and strength inside her. Jiwon made sure the shuttle was ready for anything. The others loaded supplies and weapons. During a quiet moment, Youngmi approached Hana. I do not like you, she said bluntly. You are part Draether, and Draether killed my brother. But I saw what you did at Haven's Rest. You saved those children without thinking about which species they were. I just reacted, Hana said. No, you chose. Youngmi touched the medical supplies at her belt. I am a healer. I took an oath to help anyone who needs it. But I broke that oath during the war. I let Draether soldiers die rather than treat them. I have to live with that. She looked Hana in the eyes. What I am saying is, if this mission succeeds, maybe I can learn to be better. Learn from you. It was not an apology or even acceptance, but it was honest, and Hana respected that. The shuttle launched on schedule. Jiwon piloted them through the fleet perimeter while the others strapped in. Hana found herself sitting between Daehyun and Taeyong, human and Draether on either side. 6 months ago, this would have been impossible. Tell me about your father, Taeyong said suddenly.
Corvin. I knew of him before his exile.
He spoke of peace when others wanted war. I barely remember him, Hana admitted. I was 5 when they took me from my parents. My mother raised me alone until she died. The Draether Council made a mistake exiling him, Taeyong said. He understood what many of us did not. That strength comes from unity, not isolation. Your people think unity with humans is weakness, Daehyun pointed out. Many do. I did too once. Taeyong touched a scar on his arm. Then I fought beside human soldiers during the colony disaster on Petra 4. We saved 600 civilians together, human and Draether children both. I learned that bravery has no species. That is why they gave you a human name, Youngmi asked. I took the name to honor a human soldier who died protecting Draether younglings. His name was Taeyong. I carry it so his sacrifice is remembered. The shuttle fell silent after that. Each person lost in their own thoughts about the war, about all the death, about whether any of it had been worth it. They reached the shattered gate after 6 hours of flight. The debris field was even more haunting up close. Human destroyers with their hulls torn open, Draether leviathans frozen in mid-flight, their organic armor scarred by weapons fire. Thousands had died here fighting over nothing. Sensors are picking up the structure, Jiwon announced, dead center of the field. And those automated defenses are powering up. Weapons fire laced through space around them. Old defense systems, still functioning after 20 years, attacking anything that moved. Jiwon threw the shuttle into evasive maneuvers that would have made most people sick. Only Hana's hybrid constitution kept her from throwing up. We need to go through that? Youngmi gasped, watching another barrage barely miss them. Unless you want to walk, Jiwon said, spinning the shuttle around a dead warship. They were halfway through when the swarm found them. 3 entities appeared on sensors, moving impossibly fast through the debris. They must have followed the fleet, waiting for an opportunity. They cannot adapt if we do not give them time, Hana shouted. G1 evasive pattern Omega. Everyone else alternating fire on my mark. What followed was the most terrifying 5 minutes of Hana's life. Jiwan flew like they were possessed, weaving through debris while the team fired out the shuttle's gun ports. Daehyun used conventional weapons. Taeyong leaned out with a plasma rifle, back and forth switching tactics every few seconds. One swarm entity got too close. Its body slammed against the shuttle's hull, trying to tear through. Kale, thinking fast, opened the airlock. The sudden decompression blew the creature away long enough for Taeyong to shoot it with concentrated plasma. "Seal that airlock," Young-mi yelled, grabbing equipment before it flew into space. They broke free of the swarm entities, but the shuttle was damaged. Alarms beeped warnings about hull integrity and life support. "We can make it to the structure," Jiwan said, "but we are not flying out without repairs." The Eternal Flame structure was like nothing Hana had ever seen. It was part building, part organism. Dreether biotechnology mixed with something older. Something that predated both species. It pulsed with a faint light, alive despite being abandoned for who knew how long. They docked at what looked like an entrance. The structure's defenses did not fire at them. It was waiting. "Atmosphere inside reads as breathable," Kale reported, "for both our species." "It knew we were coming," Hana said. "Or it was built for this. For someone like me." They entered carefully, weapons ready. Inside was a maze of corridors that seemed to shift and change. Walls moved on their own. Pathways opened and closed. It was testing them, Hana realized, seeing if they were worthy. At one point, the path split 3 ways. The structure showed them images. One path showed human suffering during the war. One showed Dreether suffering. One showed both species working together. "It is a test," Taeyong said, "to see if we have learned." They took the third path together. The deeper they went, the more Hana felt something calling to her. The structure recognized her hybrid blood. It welcomed her, but it also warned her. She could feel it in her bones. Using the Eternal Flame would cost something. Maybe everything. They reached the central chamber after what felt like hours. It was massive. A cathedral of biotechnology and ancient engineering. At the center was a platform surrounded by pulsing energy. "This is it," Hana whispered. "The Eternal Flame." Daehyun checked his scanner. "The swarm is entering the system. The fleet is engaging, but they are outnumbered 10 to 1. We are running out of time." Hana approached the platform. As she got closer, the structure came alive. Screens activated, showing information in languages both human and Dreether. Instructions for activating the weapon. And warnings, so many warnings. "It requires a pilot," she said, reading the data. "Someone to channel the energy. Someone with both human and Dreether genetics." She turned to look at her team. "It will burn me out. Maybe kill me, but it is the only way to disrupt the swarm's coordination." "No," Young-mi said immediately. "There has to be another way." "There is not," Hana said simply. She looked at each of them. Daehyun, who had chosen not to kill her when he could have. Taeyong, who showed her that honor mattered more than species. Jiwan, her first real friend. Young-mi and Kale, learning to see past hate. "You all represent what our peoples could be. What we should be. Worth saving." She stepped onto the platform before anyone could stop her. The Eternal Flame activated. Pain. Incredible burning pain as the structure connected to her nervous system, her genetic code, everything she was. She screamed, but she did not let go. Through the agony, she could see what the weapon did. It broadcast a frequency that targeted the swarm's hive mind, disrupting their ability to coordinate and adapt. But it needed more power. She was burning out too fast. She could feel herself dying. Then Taeyong did something incredible. He stepped onto the platform beside her and offered his arm. "Take my bioplasma. Use my strength." "It will kill you," Hana gasped. "Then we die together, stopping the hunger." He smiled. "There are worse ways for a warrior to end." Daehyun moved next, connecting cables from his neural implants to the structure. "You need human processing power? Take mine. All of it." One by one, her team connected themselves to the weapon, sharing the burden, sharing the pain. Together, they had enough power. Through the structure's systems, Hana could see the battle outside. The swarm was everywhere, but as the Eternal Flame's frequency spread, they began to falter. Their perfect coordination broke apart. They started attacking each other, unable to adapt to the disruption. The joint fleet pressed the advantage. Human and Dreether working together. Just as the team in the chamber worked together, they pushed the swarm back. But something was wrong. The eternal flame was taking too much. Hana could feel her team dying around her. She had to shut it down, had to save them, but if she stopped now, the swarm would recover and everyone would die. She stood at the edge of an impossible choice. Her friends burning out beside her, while outside, two species that had hated each other for decades fought together to survive. And somewhere in her fading consciousness, Hana understood. This was always what she was meant for. Not to be human or Draether, but to be the bridge that brought them together. Even if it cost her everything. Pain was everything. Pain was the universe. Hana could not tell where her body ended and the eternal flame began. Beside her, she felt her team dying. Taeyong's bioplasma was almost depleted. Daehyun's neural systems were burning out. The others were barely conscious. She had to make a choice. Let them die and keep the weapon running, or shut it down and let the swarm win. But then something changed. The structure spoke to her, not in words but in feelings, in understanding that went deeper than language. It showed her what the ancient Draether who built this place had discovered. The weapon was never meant to destroy the swarm. It was meant to unite those who fought against it. The real power was not the frequency or the disruption. It was the choice to stand together despite all the reasons not to. Hana made her choice. She refused to pick between human and Draether. She refused to let anyone die. Instead, she opened herself completely to the structure. Let it see everything she was. All her pain, all her loneliness, all the years of being rejected by both species, and all her hope that they could be better. The eternal flame responded. Power surged through the structure, but it was different now. Instead of taking from Hana and her team, it amplified what they were giving willingly. The weapon was not burning them anymore. It was transforming them. Outside, the battle changed. The swarm entities were not just disrupted, they were confused. The frequency the eternal flame broadcast now carried something the swarm had never encountered before. Unity between two species that should have been enemies. Sacrifice from beings protecting each other despite different genetics. The swarm had adapted to every weapon, every tactic, every form of violence in the galaxy. But they had never adapted to cooperation born from choice, to love that crossed species, to sacrifice that ignored bloodlines. It broke their hive mind completely. The swarm entities turned on each other in confusion. Some fled, some simply stopped moving, their programming unable to process what they were experiencing. The joint fleet pressed the advantage, human and Draether ships fighting as one coordinated force. In the chamber, Hana felt the power stabilizing. She could breathe again. Around her, her team was recovering. Taeyong opened his eyes, looking at his hands in wonder. Daehyun checked his systems and laughed in disbelief. They were alive. Wounded, changed, but alive. We did it, Young-mi whispered. She was crying, holding Kale's hand without realizing it. The young Draether was crying too, their tears mixing on the floor of an ancient structure built by people who understood what these six were learning now. Jiwon's voice crackled through the calm. Hana, are you seeing this? The swarm is retreating. They are actually running away. Through the structure's sensors, Hana watched the void swarm flee beyond the galactic rim. They would not return. Not to a galaxy where two species that had been at war could choose to stand together. But the victory came with a cost. Hana looked at her hands. The scales had spread completely. Her body had changed permanently. She was even less human now, even less Draether. She was something entirely new. How do you feel? Taeyong asked. He looked different too. His eyes had changed, taking on a faint glow like hers. The connection to the eternal flame had altered them all. Like I finally know who I am, Hana said. Not human. Not Draether. Something else. Something better. They made their way back to the shuttle. Jiwon had managed to repair enough systems to fly. As they lifted off from the structure, Hana took one last look at the eternal flame. It was powering down now, its purpose fulfilled. Maybe one day future generations would find it and learn what happened here. The return to the fleet was quiet. Everyone was processing what they had survived, what they had become. Admiral Seo-hyun and Elder Soren met them in the flagship's docking bay. The human and Draether leaders stood side by side, and that alone was a miracle. The swarm is gone, Seo-hyun said. Her voice was tired but relieved. Long-range sensors confirm they have left the galaxy, and our losses, while heavy, were far less than they could have been. Because we fought together, Elder Soren added. He looked at Hana with something that might have been respect. You have proven your worth, hybrid. More than that, you have shown both our peoples what we forgot, that we are stronger together than apart. What happens now? Hana asked. Now we rebuild, Seohyun said. But differently. The human government and Draether Council have agreed to sign a new treaty, the Crimson Accord, named after the project that created you. Project Crimson Genesis will be reopened, Soren explained. Not as a secret, but as a symbol. We will work together, human and Draether, to build a future where hybrids like you are not hated but celebrated. It was more than Hana had ever dared hope for, but she knew it would not be easy. Centuries of hate did not disappear overnight. What about those who still hate? She asked. The extremists on both sides? They exist, Seohyun admitted. And they will fight against this peace. But they are outnumbered now by those who saw what cooperation achieved. You have given us proof that unity works. Over the following weeks, the galaxy changed, slowly at first, then faster. Daehyun was appointed as the first human ambassador to the Draether homeworld. Taeyong became his Draether counterpart. Together, they worked to make the peace real, not just words on paper. Youngmi and Kale surprised everyone by requesting to stay together. They started a medical exchange program, teaching human and Draether doctors to work with both species. The young Draether and the scarred human woman became symbols of healing. Jiwon got their ship officially recognized as a transport between human and Draether space. They carried supplies, messages, and hope between worlds that had been separated by hate, and Hana received her own ship. The Bridge of Scales, a vessel crewed by both humans and Draether. Its mission was to protect all colonies, regardless of which species lived there. To show that the peace was real, that cooperation was possible. 6 months after the Swarm War, Hana stood on a colony world called New Hope. It was a joint settlement, the first planet where humans and Draether lived together by choice. They were building houses side by side, sharing technology, raising children who would never know what it was like to see the other species as enemies. A memorial had been erected for those who died fighting the swarm. Human and Draether names were carved together, no distinction between them. They had died as one people, defending their galaxy. Hana placed flowers at the base of the memorial. Her mother's name was there, added posthumously. Myung had died fighting for the dream of unity. Now that dream was becoming real. She would be proud, a voice said behind her. Hana turned. An older Draether stood there, scales gray with age but eyes still sharp. Her father, Corvin. They had been messaging for months, but this was the first time they met in person since she was 5 years old. Hana did not know what to say. So many years lost, so much pain. I am sorry, Corvin said. Sorry I was not there. Sorry I could not protect you or your mother. Sorry you had to carry this burden alone. I was not alone in the end, Hana said. She thought of her team, of Jiwon and Daehyun and Taeyong, of Youngmi and Kale. I found family. The kind you choose, not the kind you are born to. That is the human part of you talking, Corvin said with a slight smile. Draether believe bloodlines define everything. Maybe that is changing too, Hana said. The galaxy is changing. We are all changing. They walked together through the colony. Everywhere humans and Draether worked side by side. Children played together, not caring about scales or skin color. It was not perfect. There were still arguments, still misunderstandings. But there was no more hate. A group of children ran past, playing some game that mixed human rules with Draether traditions. One of them stopped, staring at Hana, a small human girl, maybe 7 years old. What are you? The girl asked with the innocent curiosity of children. Hana knelt down. She did not hide her scales or her golden eyes. She let the child see exactly what she was. I am human, Hana said. And I am Draether. And I am something new. Something that shows we can all be more than what we were born to be. That is cool, the girl said simply, then ran off to rejoin her friends, both human and Draether. Corvin chuckled. Out of the mouths of younglings. They see truth more clearly than their elders. As the sun set on New Hope, Hana received a message on her communicator. Deep space sensors had detected anomalies near the galactic rim. Not the swarm returning, but something else. New mysteries, new potential threats, new reasons for humans and Draether to work together. When do we leave? Jiwon's message asked. Hana smiled. Her crew was ready. Her ship was ready. And she was ready. Tomorrow, she sent back. We leave tomorrow. That night, Hana stood on the observation deck of the Bridge of Scales and looked at the stars. Her ship held 50 crew members, split evenly between human and Drather. They had trained together, fought together, and now they would explore together. Taeyong joined her at the viewport. The Drather warrior had become her second in command, the one she trusted most. "Are you ready for this?" Leading a crew being the symbol everyone looks to. "No," Hana admitted. "But I do not think anyone is ever ready to be a symbol. You just do your best and hope it is enough." "Your mother and father tried to build a bridge between our peoples," Taeyong said. "They failed because the galaxy was not ready. But you succeeded where they could not. You showed us that unity is not weakness. It is the greatest strength we have." "I had help," Hana said. "A lot of help. That is the point, is it not? None of us can do it alone. Human, Drather, or hybrid, we need each other." The ship's engines powered up. Around them, a dozen other ships joined formation. All mixed crews, all working toward the same goal. To explore the galaxy, to protect the peace, to prove that cooperation was not just possible but inevitable. As the Bridge of Scales jumped to hyperspace, Hana thought about everything that had led to this moment. The pain, the rejection, the loneliness, but also the friendship, the sacrifice, the love that crossed species boundaries. She had been born half human, half Drather, hated by both. But through war and sacrifice, through choosing unity over division, she had become something neither species expected. She had become hope, and hope, she had learned, was the most powerful weapon in the galaxy. It could not be adapted to. It could not be defeated. As long as one person believed in a better future, as long as one person chose to build bridges instead of walls, hope would endure. The galaxy was vast and full of dangers, but it was also full of possibilities. Humans and Drather were no longer enemies. They were partners, allies, and maybe in time they would be one people who remembered what they once were but chose to be something better. Hana stood at the bridge of her ship, surrounded by her crew, heading toward unknown stars. She was no longer alone. She was no longer an outcast. She was the future, and the future was bright.